Donald Trump cannot actually hit a new low. He has bottomed out. But while he's down there, he has found some new offensive, objectionable things to do. And this Instagram video that he posted, because as a very serious politician, he is always on Twitter and Instagram. He posts this about ISIS and President Obama. Let's watch.
They're a bunch of killers with good social media. Thanks, Obama.
I've never seen more juvenile political propaganda than that. You just put one picture and then put another picture. They didn't happen at the same place. They have nothing to do with each other. Just go back and forth, go back and forth. And I bet you that was tweeted, reshared, whatever, a million times.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of fear-mongering works really well for political gain. There was a poll recently that compared Trump and Hillary Clinton if they were the front runners in the general election. And the people who were polled said that they obviously would rather vote for Hillary Clinton. They mostly trust her, blah, blah, blah. But when it came to specific issues like national security, they sided with Trump because they think that Trump would be tough and very protective when it came to national security. Trump doesn't understand anything about foreign policy. He doesn't understand anything about national security. He just talks about how tough he'll be and how he's going to kick ISIS's ass. Do you think that that guy with his orange coif is going to have the ability to combat ISIS? You think that that's the tough guy that's going to protect the country? That's laughable to say the least. And look, that one video, it kind of speaks to how effective fear-mongering is, because people want to rally behind the person that is going to protect them from the big bad terrorists, right? Here's the thing. There needs to be laws on defamatory statements, false statements, fraudulent statements in political ads. Right now, it's a free-for-all when it comes to political ads. Politicians can lie as much as they want to the American people. They shouldn't have the ability or the protection to do that.
Yeah. No, and I'm very glad that you brought up that, like, oh, so seriously, we need serious political leadership. That's going to be in foreign policy, that's going to be Donald Trump. Because if it's this easy to throw together an Instagram video like Trump did, maybe other people can get in on the game, like Jared Jackson, who put together this.
Are you familiar with General Soleimani?
Yes. Go ahead, give me a little, go ahead, tell me. I will be so good at the military, your head will spin.
Well, I'm not looking to quagmire, I'm looking to take the oil. I want to take the oil. I want the oil.
France, you have the horrible attack. There was nothing anybody can do. I know one thing, in this room, it's a whole different story, right? It's a different story. If you had 25 people in there that had guns, okay? It would have been a totally different story, folks.
Thanks, Trump. Look, we could, with a little bit more, like, we could throw together, like, if it's just Obama, which, by the way, all that video of Obama was from a BuzzFeed thing that he did, because I know this is crazy from the point of view of the GOP. They don't understand it, but young people actually like Obama. They like the Democrats, and that's why people like BuzzFeed will interview him from time to time. So they threw that together. So I don't know if you know this, but that mofo right there was just on SNL. Like, he's like, oh, you can't ever be goofy if you want to be a serious. So I can put him with, okay, something about ISIS, and then he's flipping his belt buckle about Ben Carson. And then another shot of ISIS, really scary, and he's doing all of his faces that have been going all over Instagram and Twitter recently. We can make him look like a moron, too.
I mean, we don't have to try hard. He
we don't
makes
have to try
himself
hard.
Look like a moron on the regular.
Yeah.
It's
sad.
Here's the thing. You can't criticize other politicians. He's not even a politician. Jesus Christ. You can't criticize other public figures of being goofy in serious times when every debate features you.
Exactly.
Going like that, okay, with your ridiculous haircut or lack thereof, whatever.
But just bear in mind, since after all, what we're talking about is choosing the commander-in-chief who is going to prosecute whatever our strategy is about ISIS or Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. His strategy has been bomb the crap out of them, literally his words, and take their oil.
Which is what we've been doing, by the way.
Exactly, man. Nobody in the history of the world has had the crap bombed out of, maybe Dresden. Maybe Japan. Other than that, nobody's been bombed more than people in Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq. Okay, these people have proven unbelievably bomb resistant. maybe you should consider a different strategy. And if you like the bombing, if you're going to elect Trump because of the bombing, how do you not already like Obama? We're bombing him right now in Syria. We're bombing the crap out of him. We need $30 billion and more bombs to bomb the crap out of him over just the next year. But for some reason, I don't like Obama's bombing. I want Trump to bomb him. I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah,
we live in a crazy world.
Our foreign policy of bombing, people in the Middle East has led to ISIS. I mean, when you really think about it, it's definitely strengthened ISIS. When you're bombing, when you're dropping drones and dropping missiles and killing innocent civilians and then referring to the victims as collateral damage, what happens to their family members? They want vengeance. And how do they get vengeance? They join ISIS.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe your policy of bombing isn't really well thought out, but neither is anything he ever says. And the thing that's frustrating is those who support him, or at least those who support his so-called foreign policy, are so incredibly stupid. Like, so incredibly misinformed.
Yeah.
And that's the country we live in, right? We like to brag about how we have a democracy. Our democracy is broken. We have politicians that are bought, and at the same time, we have media, or so-called journalism, that's been infected with viruses like Bill O'Reilly. So people are getting misinformation left and right, propaganda left and right. We don't have a democracy right now. We have this very fucked up system where a clown like Donald Trump is actually taken seriously as a candidate. He knows nothing about foreign policy, domestic policy. He doesn't even know anything about business. He went bankrupt 4 times.
Yeah.
So I'm done with this clown.